So this is our next interview in our Wise Women Workwiser series for Minerva Work Solutions, and I am so excited to be joined today with Kelly Jedele, the owner of Let Kelly.
Thank you.
It's
so great to be here.
Oh, we're so happy to have you.
Yeah.
So as we do with most of these interviews, we're just going to start from not the beginning, but I first want to hear more about your company. So you are one of our first entrepreneurs. We're so excited to have you be able to talk about your experiences, but tell us a little bit more about your company.
My company, Let Kelly, is what I deem a household management company. So we manage people's households. I've got 3 different divisions. So we've got a cleaning division, an organizing division, and then a personal assistant division, which now has branched off into virtual assistant as well. And so all those things kind of take over as CEO of the home so that women can go out there and, continue their passions, and we can just take care of all the chores and errands.
And so as owner, what do you do? Or maybe it's better to ask, what do you not do as part of running that company?
That's a shorter list. Yeah. I at this point, my goal is really, my focus is the vision of the company, systems that need to be just improved, and where we can find efficiencies. I lead the sales and I lead training.
Excellent. So I have a ton of questions about the entrepreneurship piece of it, but we'll get to that in a second. So first, let's take the step back now. I want to kind of go back in time just to talk about your professional path and what kind of led you to starting this company, and what specific things in your life really shaped your professional path.
Yes, I started the business. I've had it for 8 years. We're just finishing 8 years. And when I started the company, I had just gotten fired. And at that point, I knew that the industry that I was in, which was medical sales, I could have stayed in that industry in 2009, or I could, do something different. And my daughter was starting elementary school, and I wanted to have a little bit more time flexibility with her. I was a single mom, and still am. And I really thought, hey, if I could do something as simple as cleaning houses, just to do the service to help people while I'm away from my daughter and doing something else, if I could really just help, that's where my heart is, and that's where I really wanted to be. And it just seemed silly. And I said one night to a girlfriend of mine, I really kind of just want to, help in houses and like clean houses, and I have these other ideas. She's like, why not? Best question. And my first response was, well, I have a college degree and, all this, sales experience and all that kind of stuff, and kind of, wore all my fancy awards on my sleeve, and my pride and everything. And then I thought to myself, no, that's exactly what I want to do. So I went for it. And did that.
So even before that, deciding to start your business, backing up, what did you decide to major in for school? How did you get into the medical sales? What was that path before that might have influenced them wanting to start your own business?
Yeah, I have a Bachelor of Science in Communication from the University of Texas, and I got into that degree because I really love communicating with people. I love finding out what their heart's desire is, and really finding out what makes each person unique and special, and what they need, how I could be of help to them. And because it fills my heart when I do that, and it just seems like a great connection for me. And so I have a love of languages, I have a love of different cultures, and so I think that's just from when I was a kid and just who I am. And that's just kind of where I started that. I went to UT because my brother went to UT. It really wasn't like a smart, savvy decision. They did have a good communications school, which I ended up finding out. And I was an average student. Wasn't straight A's or anything like that. I was proud to finish and get a degree. I framed that bad boy. It's hanging on my wall just to say that I did it. Mm-hmm. Don't ever want to go back, is what I say, but I'm kind of a student of life where I love to read and continue watching podcasts and YouTube videos and that to expand my knowledge on life and learning. So
And so after college then, what was that first position? How did you transition? I know a lot of our clients, even those that are students still and looking for that first position or first job, how did you navigate that?
So when I was in college, I started my own Mary Kay business. So I was in sales, and I waited tables on the weekends, had my business as well, and going to school.
Wow.
And so I worked out at the gym downtown, and I didn't like getting ready with my roommate and all that kind of weird stuff. So I would just go to the gym super early, and that just happened to be the business crowd. So I was selling Mary Kay to them and working out with these ladies, and sure enough, one of the ladies, they had a position available right when she knew I was graduating high school or college. She saw my communication style and how I could just deliver on things that I had already promised and things like that with the Mary Kay, and just my commitment to working out 5 days a week at 6 a.m. That's a thing,
especially for a college student.
For a college student, who does that? So I got started there and worked there for about 2 years, and decided to start my family, and got married and had my daughter, and that's when life didn't quite work out the way I had planned, and I went through a divorce with my husband, and at that time I chose, if this divorce is happening, I have to work, and if I have to work, what am I going to do? And sales was something that I knew because of all my training with Mary Kay. And that company is amazing with all of the type of leadership and coaching and training that you get when you really dive into it. And so I soared. I did a great job. I started with apartment leasing because I needed an apartment right away. And then someone told me that if you sold copiers door to door, you would get into the medical sales. And so I sold copiers, and sure enough, 6 months down the road, I got approached for a job and started in medical sales, and was there for about almost 5 years before I lost the one job that I had at that time, and decided to start my business.
Even just through you dialoguing this, it's very apparent. I teach entrepreneurship at the university in San Antonio at UTSA, and they study entrepreneurs, and it's like savvy, resilient, not afraid of failure. Like even in just this little time that you've been talking, you've been hitting all of these. Have you thought of yourself always as an entrepreneur? Did you see yourself? Was it surprising of like, yeah, I'm going to start my own business, no big thing, or was that something that you had never thought you would do?
It didn't occur to me until I was a few years into my business. And looking back, yes, all the markers are there. I started working when I was 10, started creating money for myself, babysitting, started cleaning houses, and I had a job, going to high school, made enough money to buy my first car. It was very, very young, I wasn't raised by my biological mom. And then when I reconnected with her and started building a relationship with her, she's an entrepreneur, so is my grandma, and so is her mom. So it's just kind of part of the path. And my daughter's the same. It's like, I don't know if it's genetic or if it's taught, or it's interesting because I wasn't raised by my mom, yet she was in my life for the first 5 years. So I wonder, those formative years. So I wonder, it's just nature versus nurture, and it's you wonder about all that stuff. But I think it really is inside, and fearless. I've been called that many times, and I don't see it. I'm just a huge risk taker, and I don't see that though. It's just like, oh, well, what's next? That didn't work. Try something else.
Well, so speak to that a little bit as you started this company. So your girlfriend says, why not? And you're like, yeah, why not? You decide to go for it. How did you start developing business? How did you differentiate yourself from other competition in the market? How did you identify where you wanted your market to be? These are all, I think, just really important. Those entrepreneurs that are thinking of taking that first step, these are the questions they're asking themselves.
Yeah, well, I got some free business cards made, and I just put my name and phone number on there. I was a single mom, so I didn't want my address. I was very conscious of all that. And I put the skills that I had, or ones that I wanted to create my business with, and started handing out business cards. I made flyers and took them to all of the apartments downtown Austin, And I also, at my daughter's school, we lived in a pretty nice neighborhood. And so all the parents and the teachers and the staff there were my clientele. They're the people that I wanted to reach. So especially the moms there, really raising children and working full time is I just really don't know how we do it. If you really think about it, it's just crazy to think the things that we do, especially for the women that don't allow themselves to have help in the home. It's maddening. It's just crazy. So I really focused on marketing to them, and since sales is my background, it's very natural for me to make that conversation quickly turn into, oh yeah, I do that too, or I buy some random scrub brush at the store and go, yeah, you should see the stuff I use this for. Oh, what do you do? Just conversations. I learned really quickly that realtors were a great place, a great connection for me, a referral partner. If I made them look good with their clients, they would refer to me, 3 or 4 clients a month easily. The apartment communities downtown, it was just, I found out where people would refer to me and be my sales crew while I was doing the work. Mm-hmm. And it grew very quickly, very quickly.
And so then what? So how did you deal with that growth over time?
Yeah, so I knew that I wouldn't be able to didn't want to physically do the work. My skill is communication, relationships, and that type of thing, vision work. And plus I get bored with minutia. So I need new, exciting things all the time. Variety is like my word. So I had to have a plan in place. And so my plan was, I will gladly do this work for a year or 2. And then I need to make sure that I have a plan to get myself out of the actual cleaning or organizing or all that stuff, hands-on work. And so sure enough, it was 3 months in, my calendar was too full for me and I had to have help. And I went to lunch one day and this gal, she was just a firecracker, and I noticed right away her hustle. And so I asked her if she was interested in, a work. And I interviewed her. We did, some on-the-job training, and she was my buddy. So my assistant. So we took off, and then about 9 months later, I hired my first crew that were separate from me. And oh man, that's a whole nother level. It's a whole nother level.
Okay, so good. I want to talk about both of those pieces. So how did you, even with this first partner/employee person, because you guys were working together on a lot of the jobs, I assume?
Right.
How did you make sure, because my hunch is that what you were doing was unlike your other competition, and I didn't even get to dive into that as much, but a lot of people offer to clean houses, and probably some do the organization stuff too. How did you market what you were doing as distinct or different from the competition?
The really thing was, I was an educated white woman. It was really that simple. And it's that fortunately for me, that's how I was born. It wasn't my choice. I just got that benefit. And so I'm very articulate and very communication. I love learning personality styles. Again, I learned that in Mary Kay. So when I'm talking to people on the phone, if they're talking fast, I'm talking fast. If they're going to talk slow, I'm going to pause and talk slow. I'm going to ask them about their children. So I learned really quickly, and so people would just immediately feel connected to me. And so the communication was super easy, and I understood their world. And so there wasn't like a culture difference, and there wasn't a class difference or anything. I understood what they needed and what they were asking me, even though sometimes they weren't able to articulate what they wanted. I could ask enough questions and say, what about this or this? And then they could choose and give me an answer. So I think that's what set me apart. I think it still kind of sets me apart from my competition in Austin.
So even in the services, so do you start out with the household type cleaning thing? I'm almost surprised, in the organization, is that in high demand? And you're talking about this virtual assistant, what do customers most want? I would think that some of it is like starting with the cleaning, and then it's like, oh, you do this too? Well, I guess I can do some. Okay, so yeah, if you look, scope creep almost.
Yeah, if you look at my website, if you're a businesswoman that has a household and you're got all the things going, you're like, I want everything. Where do I start? Yeah. So, and what ended up happening in the very beginning is women wanted their home clean, and then they would figure out the rest. Well, because these are high-powered, passionate women, and they're very energetic and they're very good at what they do, once they got their home cleaned and they felt like there was hope and there was energy in the home because it was clean and taken care of, they could naturally take care of the other things. They felt like they had someone that was taking care of them. And that's just magical for us as women. So yes, the organizing piece is there, and yes, the personal assistant piece is there, and we do have clients in those arenas. It's just not as much. The cleaning business is 88% of my business.
Gotcha, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's go back to when you brought on this first employee, essentially. How did you make sure that, I would assume, the way you do things is probably part of that customization. It's what makes you stand out, again, providing that customer service. Did you have operating procedures? Like, how did you make sure that, adding that first person or then the external team, that they were doing exactly what you would do if you were cleaning the home, or making sure that the way that you would want it done?
Yeah, it's a tricky process. I would say hire slow, and I took time to hire the people that I knew had what it took, which I always say work ethic and attitude. I can do anything with those two. Just without those two things, I just can't work. So I can teach you what I need to be done. So it was really easy with the first gal that I hired. She ended up being one of my managers down the road because I trained her. I wouldn't say mano a mano, but I was there with her, training her exactly how I wanted things done and what I wanted things to look like and what I wanted the client to experience. And same with the crew that I hired, the next two gals. I worked with them alongside of them, and eventually they fired me.
Oh, really?
I was always on the phone. Sometimes I would take my laptop and do payroll, or different emails and things like that. They're like, just stay in the office. Like, you're no use to us.
Yes.
You're not working anymore. So eventually, I actually gave myself, permission to not go out with the teams, and that was a little bit of a transition time. And the clients were used to seeing me and talking to me, and there was some therapy and some coaching, that I would end up doing with the clients, and they love to have conversation. We have some senior clients that like to have the company and stuff, so there's a little bit of a transition there.
Yeah, so to speak to that a little bit too, as you've continued to grow the company, how has that changed, both with your role and the employees and the interactions or the face time with the clients?
Yeah, the clients, I love to talk to my clients, and I love the clients to reach out and chat with me. And this day and age, there's not a whole lot of time for conversation. So it's just, as long as they're being taken care of, they really feel like they're still connected to me. And if something goes wrong, I'm immediately on it. And I've got, I have a new manager now who's she's not new anymore, but I have a manager now that her response time is absolutely spectacular, and she owns it and takes care of things. And, she does better than I do. She's just amazing at what she does, handling the crews. Mm.
So when you think of kind of the future of Let Kelly, what do you envision that future to look like?
I've been working on this right now, and especially this past month. And right now, I really want the business to be as most efficient as possible. And I really want to create some scalable systems that allow it to grow very comfortably and very methodically. So I'm kind of slowing down the growth a little bit right now so that I can put those in place with my business coach and some other people that I've got on my team and that support me so that I can do that, because I want to be smart, and I want it to not overwhelm, because sometimes growth can really hinder a company if you grow too fast and without a lot of thinking and process and systems involved. So I want to make sure that because we're at a good spot right now.
Mm-hmm. So just in reflection, what advice would you have for aspiring entrepreneurs?
The biggest thing that I see with people that I know are going to make it is the passion. Like, whatever is your story that gets you up every day, it has to be extremely provocative. It has to be something that, when you get sued, when you wreck a car, what all the things that could happen. I mean, I can't even tell you the list of things that just go wrong in the course of, business and, everything. And you just find a way to continue going every day and make it worth it.
And you think that passion is one of the things that helps you?
That is, it has to be. For me, it's definitely what drives me.
So, you're talking about some of those issues. Like, I think, especially I think to my entrepreneurship students, they feel like when we talk to entrepreneurs, it's always the success stories, and it's never like all of the struggles. But I mean, what you're saying is, oh my gosh, absolutely, there are those struggles.
Oh, yeah.
And overcoming them is just as important as the success that follows.
Yeah, and we forget to talk about them sometimes, because we don't focus on it. If you focus on that, that's where your mind goes. I could probably write you a list of things that went wrong in the last week. And amazing successes as well. Some of the things that we've done just in the last 6 months blows my mind. I can't even imagine. I forget. I'm like, I'm just Kelly.
When you think of your own professional path, and do you see yourself continuing being this business owner and continuing to grow like Kelly? Do you see other future possibilities?
I do. I have a huge passion for what I do, and it's turned into what I want to have, like a speaking platform, and I want to go out and actually talk to women and ask them to give themselves just the freedom to not have the shame and the burden that of what they think they need to be in the home, because those roles are changing. And so, what their husband thinks of them and what they think of them, both right now, are really strong. So if we could kind of change the way that works a little bit and allow women to ask for help and kind of kick away some of the shame of that, I really would love to be able to speak to that, especially since I've been in so many homes and talked to so many clients. I would love that. And I really would love to do some consultation work as well. Really get in there and see how I can support women in their homes. And they're like the CEO of their home. Each one of us, we wear these tremendous hats. And, women that, come and want to work for me, and they're like, oh, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're the best. Like, you're like a CFO, CEO.
That's how I feel,
yeah. I mean, like, you got 4 kids, you're hired. You can manage all that and work. I mean, let's go.
That's the kind of work ethic you want, right?
Yes. I mean, getting all that laundry done and making all the meals and everything and all the stuff that's required. Yeah.
Well, I love what you're saying too. I mean, it seems like a natural follow-on to the stuff that you're working on. Like, really, if I had to think of an underlying theme, you have been about women empowerment through all of that. I mean, even your Mary Kay.
Yeah.
That absolutely is one of the early organizations trying to empower women to do exactly that.
Yeah, it's a huge part of my story.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, you bet.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.